Saudi Arabia is becoming the drug capital of the Middle East. 47 million amphetamine pills hidden in the floor shipment were seized by Saudi Arabia's authorities at the warehouse after arriving through the dry port of the capital, Riyadh. The Saudi Ministry of the Interior said in a statement on Wednesday. London and Abu Dhabi CNN. A grisly drug-induced homicide captivated the media in Saudi Arabia this April when a man in the country's eastern province set his family house on fire before iftar, the meal that ends the Ramadan fast. Four members of his family were killed. Police said he was under the influence of shabu, a methamphetamine, according to local papers. Saudi media has been sounding the alarm lately over the rise in drug use, with one columnist describing shipment of narcotics to the kingdom as an open war against us, more dangerous than any other war. On Wednesday, Saudi authorities announced the largest seizure of illicit drugs in the country's history after nearly 47 million amphetamine pills were hidden in the floor shipment and seized at a warehouse in the capital Riyadh. The record seizure demonstrates what experts say is Saudi Arabia's growing role as the drug capital of the Middle East, driving demand and becoming the primary destination for smugglers from Syria and Lebanon. The kingdom, they said, is one of the largest and the most lucrative region, regional destinations for drugs, and that status is only intensifying. Wednesday's operation was the biggest single smuggling attempt in terms of narcotics seized, according to General Directorate of Narcotics Control. While authorities didn't name the drug seized or where it came from, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime has previously said that the report of amphetamine seizures from countries in the Middle East continue to refer predominantly to tablets bearing the Captagon logo. Captagon was originally the brand name for the medicinal product containing the synthetic stimulant penicillin, penicillin. Though it is no longer produced legally, counterfeit drugs carrying the Captagon name are regularly seized in the Middle East, according to European Monitoring Center for Drugs and Drug Addiction. Drug busts of Captagon in Saudi Arabia and around the region have grown over time. Earlier this week, a U.S. Coast Guard boat seized 320 kilograms of amphetamine tablets and almost 3,000 kilograms of hashish worth millions of dollars from the fishing boat in the Gulf of Oman. The drug was popularized in the kingdom some 15 years ago, but has taken off more intensely in the past 5 years, perhaps becoming on par with cannabis, according to Banda Pelbab Brown, a fellow at the Brookings Institution in Washington, D.C., who has written on the topic. One of the reasons Captagon is spreading in use is because there is a supply flood now coming mostly from Syria, where it is produced on the industrial scale in the chemical factories inherited from the Assad regime and supplied by warlord and affiliates from the regime. Saudi Arabia's Center for International Communication didn't respond to CNN's request for comment. Captagon can be sold for between $10 and $25 a pill, meaning the latest Saudi haul. If it was the same drug, has the street value of up to $1.1 billion based on figures from the International Addiction Review Journal. Captagon's amphetamine type properties were sought out as a coping mechanism that can aid users facing food insecurity in starving hunger and inducing a euphoric rush that users have said to help with traumatic stress, said Caroline Rose, a senior analyst at the New Lines Institute in Washington, D.C., who has studied the Captagon trade. It also it's also been said that these same trait for Captagon has been sought out for by foreign workers in wealthy Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia, seen to add work performance, while hashish and khat were also common drugs in the kingdom. Amphetamines are popular among Saudi youth. A 2021 study in the Journal of Crime, Law, and Social Change cited a user as saying, "Captagon is small. My schoolmate, and I like it more than hashish. Not like hashish, we can buy in tablet. Once we get 25 riyals from our parents, we can buy one tablet and enjoy it." In wealthier consumer market, the drug has the different appeal, serving as the recreational activity among its growing youth population that, despite the social reforms, have reportedly struggled with boredom amidst widespread youth unemployment and the lack of opportunities for regularly activities, said Rose. Some consumers have justified the Captagon as less of a taboo substance compared to the harder drugs like opiates and cocaine. Since many young people in Saudi Arabia has been taking drugs as a result of boredom and the lack of social opportunities. The increased freedoms introduced by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman could help reduce some of the use, said Bob Brown. The importance the important thing is neither to curtail the freedoms nor to turn concert into places of drag dragnet and raid, but rather to educate to young people, she told CNN. Over the past few years, the number of drug rehabilitation centers have popped up across the kingdom after the government began licensing private establishment. Kal- Khalid Al Mashari, the CEO of Qaim, one of the first such centers to open, says around 4 or 5 have opened in the past 2 years. That's the testament to the government's recognition of the importance of the rehabilitation, he says, but it also shows that the problem is on the rise. We are in high demand, unfortunately, he said. He told CNN. But at least the people have the option now instead of having to go to neighboring countries to seek treatment. Despite the presence of rehabilitation centers, Rose says there is a little public health messaging or campaigning to raise awareness about Captagon. While this taboo regarding drug consumption in the kingdom is not growing anywhere, the government tends to exclusively securitize this issue and downplay its role as the destination market will be harder to ignore, she said. Bob Brown says the drug policies in the Middle East have focused on the hardest of responses, unlike the large part of the world that have worked away from such rigid and mostly ineffective or outright counterproductive policies. The Middle East have often doubled down on them, she said. Imprisoning users is ineffective and counterproductive. The digest. US says Iran reply on EU proposal for revival of nuclear deal is not constructive. As the State Department spokesperson said, the US has received Iran's reply to the US response, a EU proposal for the revival of the nuclear deal on Thursday. We are studying it and will respond through the EU, but unfortunately, it's not constructive, said the spokesperson. The Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Nasser Kanani earlier said Tehran's response was sent after carefully examining it and with the aim of finalizing the negotiations, according to a statement. Background. Earlier this week, during a press conference in Russia, Iranian Foreign Ministry Hussein Amir Abdollahian said Iran needs guarantees that the US will not withdraw from the nuclear accord and reapply sanctions as happened under the Trump administration. Why it matters? The US and Iran have been trading responses to a final EU text aimed at reviving the 2015 nuclear deal. EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell has said he hopes the talks can be concluded in the matter of days. French President Macron also said on Thursday he hopes to conclude the talks in the next few days. It's unclear how the talks will move forward from here, as Iran continues to increase its uranium enrichment and break commitment under the nuclear deal. Four kills during Shiite clashes in Iraq Basra. Crashes between rival Shiite groups killed four people in Iraq's Basra on Thursday, as a fallout from the country's worst political violence in years continues, Reuters reported. Basra is the main oil producing city in Iraq, and now violence has spread from Baghdad to the south. Background. The violence began earlier this week in Baghdad when pauper Shiite cleric Muqtada al-Sadr announced his resignation from political life. That move set up an intense round of political infighting between Iran-backed Shiite groups and Assad supporters. Both sides have been trying to exert control since parliamentary elections in October 2021, so saw Iran-backed blocs lose seats to Sadrist. Despite his win, al-Sadis failed to form a government amid opposition from his rivals. Why it matters? The episode served as a reminder of the fragility of the government in Baghdad, which remained largely neutral in the crisis, as well as the competing players at home and abroad that seeks to control the country's politics. Turkish pop star could face up to 3 years in prison for joking about religious schools. Singer Gulsen Beyliktar Kola Kolakoglu, known as Gulsen, could face the prison sentence of up to 3 years over comments made during the concert in April, according to a 48-page indictment. The Istanbul Chief Prosecutor's Office brought charges of inciting the public to hatred and enmity, the indictment said. Background. Last week, Gulsen was jailed pending trial after a video circulating on social media showed her making a comment about religious schools in Turkey. Uh, According to the state-run Anadolu news agency. During a concert in April, Gulsen said he graduated from Iman Khatib religious schools. That's where his pervert side comes from, referring to the person on stage. The singer denied the charge, saying it was a joke and apologized to those offended by her remarks. She has since been released from custody but placed under house arrest. An Istanbul criminal court will assess the indictment and decide to accept or refuse it. If accepted, the hearings will start and Gulsen will be brought before court. Why it matters? Gulsen has previously been targeted by Turkish conservative groups for her revering stage outfit and support for the LGBTQ community. Her recent arrest sparked outrage and support from fans on social media. Some critics say it's part of the move by Turkish officials to gain support from their religious and conservative base ahead of the elections next year.